Alright, on this week's full scene setup, we're doing another Halloween-themed, horror-themed scene. So if you haven't seen my first one, the werewolf attack, be sure to check that one out. I'll link to it above. And if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I do a full scene setup every Friday, and I do tutorials. I've been doing those every Monday and Tuesday. So again, hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss one of my new videos. So I've got something really exciting for this one. I'm going to do a vampire scene this time, and I'm doing a look that's inspired by old 1950s and 60s horror comics like Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, and shock suspense stories. So I'm going to start with the Gothic bedroom set, and as I usually do, I'll go ahead and link to any of the main products that I use. I'll link to those in the description below if you want to check those out for yourself. So the Gothic bedroom is a great scene, and you can see that it's already pretty well lit, but we're about to ruin all of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to render settings. I'm going to turn my auto headlamp off. So this is a relatively complex environment, so it's taking a little while to load in Iray view. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to texture shaded view. So the first thing that I'm going to do is get my new lighting setup in place, because I'm going to apply a texture on this entire room that's basically going to make all the lights not work. So let's go to content library, and the first thing I'm going to do is find my ghost lights. I'm going to use a ghost light setup. There we go. So I'm going to create two vertical ghost lights because I have two windows in this room, and I'm going to put lights outside of each one of them. I'm going to make sure this one is very well lit because of these shaders that I'm going to use. We're going to need probably a lot of light. So I'm going to create more light than I'll probably need, and then we can adjust that later. All right, let me scoot that over a little bit. Oh, there we go. Alright, go ahead and create another one. There we go. And I'm going to rotate these negative 90 degrees on the y-axis to get them pointed in the correct direction. There we go. And then I'm going to move them both outside of my room. And I'm going to position each of these just right outside the windows, pointing in. I'm going to try to make them roughly the same size as the windows. So I'm going to simulate light coming in from the outside. All right, give me just a moment to get these in place. All right, there we go. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to select both of those. Did I get both of them selected? I might be only be able to do these one at a time, but that's okay. Alright, let's go ahead and click the apply before presets. Oh, that worked for both of them. Excellent. Alright, now we're going to go back inside the room, and I am going to get ready to apply my shaders. So I'm going for a comic book look. So I'm going to use the excellent Toon shader product. Let me find that real quick. There we go. So we're using the Iray toon shader from Dimension Theory. Again, I'll link to that in the description below. This is one of my very favorite shader products to use. And what we're going to do first is to select everything in the scene. So the way that you do that is just right-click and select all. And then we're going to go down to surfaces. And now we're going to select everything here, except for the two ghost lights. So all you have to do is click the first thing, scroll all the way down to the bottom, hold your shift key, and click the bottom one, and that'll select everything. And I'm going to mess around with a couple of different shaders. I'm not married to any idea, but I think I'm going to try a crosshatch shader first, which is one of my favorite ones. And that is different than probably what we're going to use on our characters, but I'm okay with that. I think that might actually help them stand out a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and select my ghost lights and apply the presets. There we go. And for right now, I'm going to go ahead and set both of these on candlelight. So we're going to retain that kind of candlelit look for this scene. Alright, and for intensity, we're going to set that relatively high, about halfway up. We're going to set those on 500K for right now. There we go. Now let's go inside and check and see what it looks like with Iray view. I should also probably be doing this with a perspective view. There we go. So I'm not moving all my cameras around. Alright, so let's check this out and see what it looks like. Alright, and it is completely dark, and I think that's because these window textures have turned dark, so I'm going to try moving my ghost lights inside the room, and we'll see if that helps. There we go. Yeah, that helps out a whole lot. Alright, let's do the same thing with the other one. Yeah, when I changed the shaders on those windows, it made them opaque, so they aren't letting any light through. There we go. And I'm actually going to turn those in a little bit. See if I can get the room a little bit more well lit towards the middle, and I'm probably going to end up bumping up the intensity on those as well. There we go, not bad. Let's try bumping those up to 700K also. Excellent, I think that'll do for now. So you can see how the shaders have killed all of the lights coming from the shadow light, or coming from the candlelight rather. But by applying that shader, we've created this really cool kind of hand-drawn look to everything in the room. Especially like you can see the shadows on the backs of the chairs. It's a really neat effect there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop in our models. We're going to do a vampire and a human character. So I've already got my models picked out. The vampire character I'm going to use is Tasha8HD, and the human character I'm using, her human victim, is Aethelswith HD. Again, I'll link to both of those below, and give me just a moment and let me get those dropped in. Alright, so there's my Aethelswith character. My model, I've got her dropped in, all of her materials how I want them, and dressed how I want her. She's using the gem hair for Genesis 8, which is one of my favorite kind of goth punkish hairstyles. Great hairstyle there. Alright, and then I'm going to drop in my vampire character, which is going to be the Tasha8HD. Alright, so there's my Tasha8HD vampire character dropped in as well. Dressed, textures, and hair. I'm using the Pandora hair. If I remember correctly, I believe that comes with the Tasha 8 bundle, and it's a great kind of old school, kind of a classic hair that works really good, I think, on like an old vampire character. So that's what we're going to go with. And alright, now I have several different vampire models that I kind of interchange the different materials and props that they come with. Some of my vampire characters are based on Genesis 8. Both of these that I'm using are Genesis 8 based figures. However, some of them are Genesis 3 figures. Now, Genesis 3 props and materials are, or rather Genesis 8 models are backwards compatible with Genesis 3 materials and props. Sometimes they don't behave 100% correctly, but most of the time it takes minimal tweaking to get everything just right. And I'll show you how to do that as we come to them. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is to get them posed. So let's go to... Actually, I'm just going to go up to all files, and I'm just going to type in vampire. And I'm also going to turn off filter by context. So if I leave this on, it's only going to show me materials, poses, props that are compatible with Genesis 8 figures. So I'm going to turn off filter by context. So now it's giving me everything. And I'm going to scroll down until I see, let's go ahead and do the bites because they're coming up first. So I'm going to double click to select my Aethelswith HD, and I'm going to do the eye neck bites. So when I was picking her outfit, I was also very careful to select something that left her neck exposed so we can see this neck wound really well. So here we go. Okay, so this is for a Genesis 3 figure. It says what figure was the item originally designed for. So we're going to say Genesis 3 female. And then what type of item is it? I'm just going to say none because I don't see anything there. And then we hit accept. And everything should work out nicely. And there we go. Now we got a great neck wound on our Aethelswith model there. All right, let me keep going real quick. I'm looking for the poses. Actually, I can probably just click on poses. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So these poses are also for Genesis 3 figures, but I've got another workaround. There is a script that you can download. So there is an add-on that you can download that is a Genesis 3 to 8 pose converter. It is a paid add-on, but it's worth the price. I have a load of Genesis 3 poses that either came with bundles that I bought or that I purchased by themselves. And so with this converter, I can use all of those with my Genesis 8 figures just by a couple of clicks. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to pay money for that, you can also do it manually by using manual adjustments. It'll just take a little bit longer. But the way that I do it is I'll select her. So I've got the bite. This is my vampire, and then this is my victim. So Tasha is my vampire. And these poses are going to look a little bit awkward at first. Hers not so much. Aethelswith is going to look really awkward. So let's double click her and do the victim. So yeah, very, very, very awkward pose for her. So I've got her selected already. So I'm going to go up to Scripts, Genesis 3 to 8 Pose Corrector, and hit Apply. And boom, everything's fine. There we go. We'll do the same thing with our vampire Tasha. There we go. Now our poses are all good. And then all I have to do is get them in position. So I'm going to move Aethelswith back a little bit. Just going to use the Z translate slider to move her back. And we're just going to go back until our arms are in place. That left arm is going to be a little bit weird, so I am going to have to place that one manually. But it's really quick and easy. There we go. All I'm going to do is select her hand and then bend it back until it's outside of her body. There we go. And just a little bit more adjustment with her to get those hands in the right place. There we go. I think that'll do. All right, and next I'm going to go ahead and do expressions. I'm going to fix her posing a little bit. I'm going to make it where our vampire is looking up at the camera. So I'm going to, I've got the head adjusted back as far as it'll go. So I'm going to go to neck upper and bend that back a little. Maybe turn it just a little bit so it's less awkwardly placed. There we go, that is excellent. And then I'm going to do her expression. And I'm just going to go to, she actually has some specially made expressions for that Tasha character. So I'm just going to go to poses and type in Tasha under the search there. And let's go to expressions. That's what I'm looking for. And we're going to do bite. There we go. That is a great bite expression. And for her, let's see. Let's do this kind of sultry expression. There we go. I think that'll work pretty nicely. All right, let's go ahead and go to Eye view and see how everything looks so far. There we go. So everything looks pretty good so far. We're definitely going to have to adjust the lighting a little bit and maybe the placement of our characters. But everything's looking pretty good so far. So let's go back to perspective view. I'm sorry, to texture shaded rather. And I'm going to get them positioned a little bit closer to the light. And I'll actually show you an easy way to do this without having to move both characters separately. Is I'm going to right click Aethelswith and we're going to change Aethelswith HD parent. Aethelswith, sorry, HD parent. Yeah, that's a tough name to pronounce. There we go. So change parent, and then this box will come up. And we're going to change her parent to Tasha. There we go, Tasha 8 Vampire HD. And then accept. So now wherever Tasha moves, Ethel's With is also going to move. We can also move her independently, but if we select Tasha and move her around, she's going to move with her, so that pose is going to remain intact. So let's move them both a little bit further this direction. And actually, let's try to, let's kind of get that bed in scene, because that just staring at that blank wall is not terribly interesting. Oops. Wrong slider. There we go. Let's try that and see how it looks. Yeah, that background is a lot more interesting. Oh, hand got a little bit messed up there. Let's fix that. Excellent. All right, let's see what that looks like. There we go. Better already. That is much better lit. Still probably going to adjust that light a little bit and maybe the camera exposure settings, but not bad at all. All right, let's go ahead and go back to texture shaded, and now we're going to get the rest of our shaders in place. And again, I'm using the toon shaders. There we go. IRA toon shader by Dimension Theory. Okay, so this takes a little bit of work. So the first thing I'm going to do is select my Ethel's With HD and go down to Surfaces. We're going to bring down the main drop-down menu and select Skin, Lips, Nails. Specifically Skin, Lips, and Nails. Nothing else right now. We're going to do our mouth and teeth separately. I find that these shaders don't work great on the eyes, so I usually just leave those as is, but it's okay. You probably won't be able to tell the difference anyway. So again, I'm going for this Tales from the Crypt look, and they have these really nicely defined lines in their shadows. So I'm going to use not the thinnest setting and not the thickest one. So we'll try this first and see how that looks. Again, you won't be able to see this shader reflected in the scene until you go to IRA view. So let's go ahead and do that and check her out. I think that's going to look pretty great. So it's got kind of a cel shaded look. Let me try one notch darker on those outlines and we'll see what this looks like. Sometimes that can be too extreme. Yeah, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head with that very first one. Yeah, so we're just going to leave that right there. All right, so let's go back to texture shaded, and let's go ahead and do the rest. So let's see, we got skin, lips, nails. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, I had to click the surfaces drop down, and we're going to go to mouth. Let's see if it'll let me select more than one of these. There we go. Yeah, we're going to do mouth and teeth, and I think that's all. Let's go ahead and do lips as well. And that's it, mouth, teeth, lips, and we're going to apply the same shader. Sometimes you have to do them individually, but I think, yeah, I believe this is going to work. There we go. As long as they're on the same model, everything should work fine. However, when we do the clothes, we're going to have to do everything individually, so we'll do that now. We're going to select the shirt. I may try a crosshatch on this shirt in a minute, but for now I'm going to go ahead and try the same one that I'm doing on the skin, but sometimes I like a different effect. All right, select it on Surfaces tab, and then apply the shader, and then the skirt, shader, and finally the stockings and shader. All right, let's take another look at that and see how that's coming along. There we go. That is looking really, really good so far. And I see one thing I forgot to do is the hair. So let's go ahead and take care of that. And I believe we're going to be done with our victim at that point. There we go. Yeah, that's looking really, really good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same steps with our vampire, the Tasha 8 HD character. So I'm going to rush through this one kind of quickly because the steps are basically the same as we just did for our victim. Alright, and that is our vampire character. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to camera 1 as I finish getting this scene set up so we'll get a little bit more realistic view. I'm also going to try a slightly different angle. I'm probably going to shoot this one from 3 or 4 different angles, kind of like I did with my werewolf. I just wanted to try to get a shot where I can see her, the victim's neck wound a little bit better. And I may have her look at the camera, but I'm just going to try it here for right now. So let's go under iRay view. There we go. Everything looks fantastic except for Tasha's dress. I don't know exactly what happened with that. So I'm going to try a couple of different shaders on that, and I may just end up trying a different clothing or just leaving that one alone with the original texture and see what that looks like. So let me go ahead and play around a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that dress, but those shaders are not playing nice with it, so I'm just going to leave that as is for right now. Still think it works out pretty well. You can't really tell any difference. So yeah, we're just going to leave it there. So I'm really liking the way the scene's coming along so far. And wow, I don't even think I'm going to have to adjust the lighting that much, if at all. So I'm going to go under render settings and play with the tone mapping a little bit, just so I can get this exactly right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try moving the shutter speed a little bit, just to get it a little bit more exposed. That's a little bit too much. Let's do it about right there. And I'm going to change the temperature on these ghost lights a little bit as well, and shift them a little bit into the blue spectrum. So I do want that candlelight effect, just not quite so extreme, I don't think. There we go, that is starting to take shape. So what I did is I bumped that, this ghost light that's closer to them, bumped the intensity down to 200K, and I also put the temperature at 8000K. So what that is doing is it's giving kind of a little bit of that moonlight glow, which if you've seen my stuff before, you know I am a huge fan of the moonlight effect. So it's getting a little bit of glow on their right side while we're still getting the kind of orange glow from the other ghost light on the opposite end of the room. So I think that blend is creating a very, very, very nice effect. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do is just, really the final thing I think, is I'm going to get my cameras in place. So this is my wide camera. Actually, let's bump that back a little bit, and I'll do a more close-up camera in a moment. That's pretty good. Alright, let's go to camera 2 and get that one placed. I'm going to go and do this in perspective view, or in texture shaded, just so it moves a little bit quicker. This one I think is going to be my close-up camera. Alright, let's do a quick iRay preview on that. I'm also going to go ahead and hide my side tabs. Right now I'm on Smart Content, so if I just click that Smart Content tab, it'll close that. Same thing on the right. There you go, now you can get a much better view. And anything that's in this box is what's going to render in your scene. I just realized I'm on a weird aspect ratio. I'm on 3:2, so I'm going to go ahead and change that while that's loading in. So I'm going to go to, let's see, Render Settings, General, and that should be on 1440. There we go, 16:9. That's what I want. Excellent, that's much better. There we go, that's a nice one. And I'm going to go ahead and set this third camera up to where it's kind of to the right, and we'll be able to see that neck wound a little better. And oh, I just thought of one thing that I forgot to do, and that is I've got to give our Tasha a bloody mouth because she's already bitten into our victim. There we go. So I'm just going to search for vampire, turn off filter by context. There we go. So we're using this Amaris Vampire LIE Blood Face. I think that one works out pretty well. Might be a little bit more extreme than what I was originally going for, but yeah, I think I kind of like that though. So we're gonna leave that like it is. All right, yeah, that'll be excellent. All right, let me go ahead and get our third camera in place. And this scene comes with 3 cameras. This environment does. And I think I'm going to be okay with that. I don't think I'm going to do a 4th one. There we go. And I wonder if I can have her looking at the camera from this angle without it being too awkward. Let me go ahead and save my other 2 first. There we go. All right, I'm going to try to turn her head a little bit Again, this might be a little bit tricky because it might start to look kind of awkward. That's kind of a weird angle. Let's go to perspective, or keep on calling it perspective, texture shaded. There we go. Ooh, had to use all three of our neck joints, but I think I managed to do it. So we're going to bend our head down a little bit. Twist it to her right, our left. There we go. All right, let's do one final check on that, and I believe this one's going to work. All right, then all of that being done, I'm going to go ahead and save these and then hit the render button and we'll see what they look like. So we'll check back in a few minutes. All right, and here I am with my 3 finished images. So this is the close-up image from the front, which I am very, very happy with. I like the light coming in from the side, just giving a little bit of a glow to our Tasha vampire there, and a little bit on the face of Aethelwith as well. Looks really, really nice. My far shot, I'm not as pleased with. That one looks just a little bit awkward, I think. Because of the mirror. I should probably could have turned that back into a reflective surface. Just so you could see the candles in the mirror. What would have been really cool is to have my 2 figures reflected in the mirror, but maybe in the mirror have it where you could only see the Aethelwith and not see the vampire in the figure. That would have been kind of cool. Probably would have taken a little bit of Photoshop work. I may try to do that in the future. The thing that I really don't like about this one is we still have the glow on the right side that I like, but the corner over here is really dark and it doesn't really look like the light is coming from anywhere. If I were going to use this as a standalone render, I think it would be cool to use a volumetric light to create a god ray coming in, like maybe a very, very subtle kind of moonlight coming in from the window would have looked really cool. And I think my favorite one is probably this one because it's got the really strong lighting to where half of her face is lit really well and then the other half is more in the shadows. I really, really like this one a whole lot. But yeah, definitely my close-up shots I love. I also like the background, the way it has that drawn look and then the more of a cel-shaded look on my models. I think it helps them stand apart. But yeah, all in all, very, very pleased with the way these turned out. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you want to check out any of these products that I've used, I'm going to link the relevant ones in the description below, where I've also detailed some ways that you can help support me both for free as well monetarily. So if you want to see more stuff like this, consider making a donation through Patreon or just, continue to watch, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And that will about do us for this time. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.